First contact. The Veltraxian Empire extended across 873 star systems, their dominion unquestioned for 12,000 years. Their capital world, Veltrax Prime, was adorned with skyscrapers that pierced the clouds and orbital rings that glittered like jewels against the midnight canvas of space. Emperor Drazik XVI, whose lineage traced back unbroken to the Empire's founding, sat upon the crystalline throne, a massive construct of compressed diamond and neural interfaces that connected him to the entirety of his domain. Commander Norixus stood before the throne, his silver exoskeleton gleaming under the chamber's ambient light. 6 limbs held perfectly at attention, though his primary eyes blinked in patterns that betrayed his nervousness. "Your Eternal Majesty," he began, "fleet preparations are complete. The 7th Conquest Fleet stands ready to depart for the Sol system." Emperor Drazik's voice resonated through the chamber, a deep harmonic that came not from a throat but from the specialized sound emitters embedded in his ceremonial carapace. "Excellent, Commander. I expect results within the standard conquest timeline." "Yes, Your Majesty. However, I must report, there are continuing concerns among our intelligence division regarding this species." The Emperor's secondary eyes narrowed, the bioluminescent patterns on his face shifting to indicate mild irritation. "The humans? What concerns could possibly remain? Our reports indicate a fractured planetary governance, primitive FTL technology, and no unified defense system." Norixus hesitated, his mandibles clicking softly. "That is correct, Your Majesty, but Intelligence Director Kelvin has received unusual warnings." The vast chamber grew quiet, save for the constant hum of information flowing through the crystal lattices that formed the walls. Drazik gestured with a primary limb, the universal signal to continue. "Multiple species have independently advised caution when dealing with humans. The Zorathi, the Quirrell Consortium, even the Myriad Collective, all have suggested we avoid conflict with Earth." Norixus paused. "Most troubling, the Archivists of Deneb 7 have formally requested we reconsider our expansion into Sol." The Emperor's bioluminescence flared bright orange, a sign of amusement among the Veltraxian elite. "The Archivists, those ancient observers who haven't intervened in galactic affairs for millennia, how fascinating." He leaned forward on his throne. "And what is their reasoning? What makes these humans so special?" "The reports are vague, Your Majesty. The consistent phrase is that humans transcend conventional limitations. Intelligence has been unable to determine what specific capabilities inspired these warnings." A harsh, discordant tone emanated from the Emperor, the Veltraxian equivalent of dismissive laughter. "Transcend limitations. All species have limitations, Commander. It is the natural order of things. Some are stronger, some faster, some more intelligent, but all have boundaries they cannot cross." "Of course, Your Majesty." The Veltraxian Empire has defined the boundaries of what is possible for 12,000 years. We have mastered gravity manipulation, consciousness transfer, stellar engineering. What could these humans possibly know that we do not? The Emperor's patterns shifted to a deep purple of certainty. "No, Commander. These warnings are likely diplomatic maneuvering from lesser species hopping to delay our inevitable expansion." Norixus nodded, though the motion was stiff. "As you say, Your Majesty, the 7th Fleet departs at the next chronometric cycle." "Good. Use the standard conquest protocol. Neutralize their military capabilities, demonstrate our technological superiority, and offer the standard terms of integration. I expect their surrender within 3 planetary rotations." "It will be done, Your Majesty." As Norixus departed, Grand Advisor Telix emerged from the shadows behind the throne. Unlike the Emperor's ornate carapace, Telix wore simple gray robes that concealed most of his exoskeleton. His bioluminescent patterns were dimmed to near invisibility, a sign of deep contemplation. "You disagree with my assessment, old friend?" Drazik asked without turning. "I wonder if we should heed the warnings, Your Eternity, not out of fear but prudence." Telix moved to stand beside the throne. "The Archivists in particular have observed this galaxy far longer than our civilization has existed. And yet they do nothing with their knowledge except watch and record. What use is such wisdom if never applied?" The Emperor's patterns shifted to a contemplative blue. "No, the Empire expands because it must. It is our nature, our destiny. If these humans truly possess something remarkable, it will become ours, as all remarkable things eventually do." "As you command, Your Eternity, I shall prepare the integration protocols for when the humans surrender." But as Telix left the chamber, his patterns briefly flashed the deep red of foreboding, unseen by the Emperor, but noted by the palace surveillance systems and dutifully recorded. The 7th Conquest Fleet emerged from hyperspace at the edge of the Sol system, an armada of 217 vessels arranged in the traditional diamond formation that had heralded the end of independence for countless civilizations. At its center, the dreadnought Imperial Ascendancy stretched 17 kilometers from bow to stern, its hull adorned with the battle honors of 100 subjugated worlds. On the command deck, Fleet Commander Norixus observed the holographic display of the system with all 4 eyes. Sol was unremarkable, a G-type main sequence star with 8 planets, only one of which harbored significant life. What made it noteworthy was its isolation. No other intelligent species had evolved within 30 light-years, leaving the humans to develop in relative solitude. Communications, broadcast the Imperial Declaration on all frequencies, Norixus ordered. Follow standard first contact protocol. The communications officer, Lieutenant Varsik, input the commands. Broadcasting now, Commander, translation matrices adapted to all detected Earth languages. The declaration was a formality, one the Veltraxians had refined over millennia of conquest. It announced the arrival of the Empire, explained the benefits of integration, detailed the consequences of resistance, and provided a reasonable timeframe for surrender. Most species responded with either immediate capitulation or desperate pleas for negotiation. The humans did neither. Commander, Varsik reported, confusion evident in his voice, we're receiving no official response from Earth governance. However, we are detecting increased communications traffic between their orbital installations. Norixus flicked his secondary limbs in mild surprise. No response at all, scan their military deployments. Scans show their ships are maintaining standard patrol patterns. No convergence, no battle formations. Their orbital weapons platforms, which are remarkably primitive, remain powered down. They're ignoring us, Norixus allowed his patterns to shift to a cautious yellow. Interesting strategy. Perhaps they hope we'll reconsider if they refuse to acknowledge our presence. Orders, Commander. Proceed to Phase 2. Target and neutralize their largest military installation, the one in the northern hemisphere of their primary continent. Minimal casualties, maximum visibility. Let's get their attention. The tactical officer, Commander Zelvix, manipulated the holographic interface. Target selected, weapons charging. The Imperial Ascendancy oriented itself toward Earth, its primary cannon, capable of delivering a precisely calibrated energy beam that could penetrate planetary shields, began to glow with accumulated power. That was when everything changed. First, the tactical display flickered, just momentarily but long enough for Norixus to notice. Then the ship's artificial gravity fluctuated, causing several officers to stumble. Status report, Norixus demanded. Before anyone could respond, a voice, calm, measured, and distinctly human, echoed through the command deck. This is Captain Elliot Reeves of Earth Unified Defense. Your presence has been acknowledged, your intentions noted, and your technology assessed. We've decided to decline your offer of integration. Norixus stared at the communications display in shock. There was no video feed, no indication of how this human had accessed their secure channels. This is Fleet Commander Norixus of the 7th Conquest Fleet. How are you transmitting on this frequency? It's secured by quantum encryption. Was secured, the human corrected. We've made some adjustments to facilitate this conversation. Norixus felt his exoskeleton tighten instinctively. Explain yourself. We intercepted and decoded your Imperial Declaration. While we appreciate the formal notice of your hostile intentions, we must inform you that Earth is not available for conquest, subjugation, or integration at this time or any future date. The casual dismissal sent a ripple of indignation through the command deck. Commander Zelvix spoke up, his patterns pulsing with anger. Our weapons are locked on your largest military installation. You have no defensive capabilities that could stop us. That's an interesting assumption, Captain Reeves replied, his tone remaining irritatingly conversational. But rather than debate the point, perhaps a demonstration would be more efficient. Suddenly, the tactical display erupted with warnings. The target lock on Earth's military base had vanished. In fact, all scans of Earth were returning garbled data. What's happening? Norixus demanded. Sir, Zelvix responded, our targeting systems are They're being rewritten. I can't explain how, but the underlying code is changing faster than our security protocols can respond. Impossible. Activate secondary systems. Isolate the command network. Already attempted, sir. The secondary systems are experiencing the same phenomenon. It's as if Zelvik stopped mid-sentence, his patterns shifting to the white of pure shock. Commander, we're being scanned, but not by conventional means. Something is reading our ship. On the main display, a new image appeared, a complete three-dimensional schematic of the Imperial Ascendancy, including classified systems, secret compartments, and even the private quarters of the command staff. The level of detail was beyond anything their own internal sensors could produce. As you can see, Captain Reeves continued, we've taken the liberty of analyzing your vessel. Fascinating design elements, though your power distribution system seems needlessly complex. Norixus felt a chill run through his neural pathways. This wasn't merely a breach of security, it was an impossibility. No known technology could penetrate the Dreadnought's multi-layered defenses to this degree. How are you doing this? He demanded. That's not really important right now, Reeves replied. What matters is that you understand your current situation. Your weapon systems are temporarily offline, your engines are operating at minimal capacity, and your communications with the rest of your fleet have been restricted to basic status reports. As if to confirm this statement, the command console before Norixus dimmed, then reactivated with severely limited functionality. This is an act of war, Norixus declared, though he couldn't keep the uncertainty from his voice. No, Commander, this is a friendly warning. War would involve the complete neutralization of your fleet, which we'd prefer to avoid. Humanity has no interest in conquest, yours or anyone else's. We simply wish to be left alone. Before Norixus could respond, a new voice joined the conversation, ancient, weary, and instantly recognizable. I warned them, Captain Reeves, they did not listen. Norixus's patterns flashed with recognition. Ambassador Gylorn, is that you? The voice of the Querelle ambassador sighed audibly. Yes, Commander, I am here on Earth as a guest of humanity. I attempted to convey the nature of these beings to Emperor Drazik, but he dismissed my concerns. Now you see for yourself. You betrayed the Empire. Norixus couldn't believe what he was hearing. The Querelle Consortium had been allies for over 3,000 years. No, Commander, I tried to save it. The humans are not like other species the Empire has encountered. They think differently. Their technology follows paths our scientists never considered. They have been watching the galaxy for centuries, learning, adapting, preparing, not for conquest, but for self-preservation. Captain Reeves spoke again. Ambassador Gylorn has been most helpful in explaining your cultural framework. Based on his insights, we've prepared terms that should allow both our civilizations to move forward peacefully. The main display changed again, now showing a formal document written in perfect Veltraxian script. Norixus read it with mounting disbelief. It wasn't a surrender document, it was a non-aggression treaty outlining mutual recognition and respecting of borders. The terms were reasonable, even generous. But what struck Norixus most was the underlying message. The humans were treating the mighty Veltraxian Empire as an equal, not as a conquered foe or even as a superior power to be feared. This is unprecedented, Norixus said finally. I have no authority to sign such an agreement. We understand, Reeves replied. You'll be permitted to return to Veltrax Prime with one vessel, your flagship. The rest of your fleet will remain here, inactive but unharmed, until proper diplomatic channels are established. And if we refuse, then we'll be forced to demonstrate exactly why so many species warned you about us. I assure you, Commander, that would be far less pleasant for everyone involved. The communication ended abruptly, leaving the command deck in stunned silence. Norixus stared at the treaty still displayed on the screen, his mind racing with implications. Commander, Zelvix reported after a moment, we've lost contact with the fleet. All ships except ours are reporting complete systems failure. Norixus looked out at the viewport, at the distant blue-green planet that had just upended 12,000 years of Veltraxian supremacy. In that moment, he understood what the warnings had meant. The humans hadn't merely pushed boundaries, they'd refused to acknowledge them in the first place. Prepare a message for Emperor Drazik, he said quietly. Tell him we've encountered something new. Paradigm shift. The Imperial Palace on Veltrax Prime was in chaos. Emperor Drazik XVI paced the strategy chamber, his bioluminescent patterns cycling rapidly between crimson rage and violet disbelief. Around the crystalline table, the 12 high counselors sat in stunned silence, their exoskeletons rigid with tension. Impossible, Drazik hissed for the fourth time, his voice harmonics distorted by emotion. 216 ships, 200,000 crew members, the most advanced weapons in the galaxy, and this single planet neutralized them without firing a shot. Grand Advisor Telix studied the holographic display floating above the table. It showed the last transmission from Commander Norixis, a complete record of the Imperial Ascendancy's encounter with Earth. The recording had played 3 times now, and each viewing only deepened the Council's dismay. "The evidence is irrefutable, Your Eternity," Telix said quietly. "The humans didn't just defeat our fleet, they rendered it irrelevant." Intelligence Director Kelvin, whose silver exoskeleton was etched with the data patterns of 50 years in service, leaned forward. "What troubles me most is not what they did, but how easily they did it. Our analysis suggests their technology isn't just advanced, it's fundamentally different." "Different how?" demanded High General Nix, the Empire's most decorated military leader. "It's as if," Kelvin's mandibles clicked as he searched for the right words, "it's as if they approached the same problems from completely different starting points. Our technology evolved along paths of efficiency, control, and hierarchical order. Theirs seems built on principles we haven't even conceptualized." The Emperor's patterns flashed with impatience. "That's abstract nonsense. Technology is technology. If they built it, we can understand it. If we can understand it, we can counter it." "With respect, Your Eternity," Kelvin continued, "preliminary analysis of the scans Commander Norixis brought back suggests their computing systems don't rely on quantum entanglement like ours. They appear to use some form of dimensional folding that allows information to exist in multiple states simultaneously without collapsing the wave function." "Speak plainly, Director." "Their computers don't think like ours. They exist partially outside conventional spacetime. That's how they bypassed our encryption so easily. From their perspective, the information was already decoded." A heavy silence fell over the chamber. For 12,000 years, the Veltraxian Empire had maintained technological superiority over every species they encountered. Their science had been the benchmark against which all others were measured and found wanting. "Options," the Emperor demanded, his patterns now a steady, dangerous red. High General Nix straightened. "We could assemble the entire Imperial Armada, not just a conquest fleet, all of it, 3,000 ships, if we concentrate our forces. And if they can neutralize 3,000 ships as easily as 200, Finance Minister Ezreal interrupted. "The economic impact would devastate the Empire for generations." "We cannot allow this humiliation to stand," Nix insisted. "The Empire must respond with overwhelming force." "The Empire must respond with intelligence," Telix countered. "We are facing something unprecedented. Before we commit to action, we must understand what we're dealing with." The Emperor's secondary eyes narrowed. "What do you propose?" "Diplomatic engagement. Commander Norixis reports the humans offered reasonable terms. They don't appear interested in conquest, only in being left alone." "You suggest I negotiate with a single world as if it were our equal?" Drazik's voice resonated with outrage. "I suggest we adapt to reality, Your Eternity. Whatever our perceptions, this single world has demonstrated power that warrants reconsideration of our approach." Before the Emperor could respond, the chamber's security alert sounded, a high-pitched harmonic that indicated an unauthorized presence. The council members rose in alarm as the massive crystal doors sealed automatically. "Security breach," announced the palace's artificial intelligence. "Unknown entity detected in the strategy chamber." Guards materialized from hidden compartments, weapons trained on. Nothing. The chamber appeared empty save for the council. "There," whispered Kelvin, pointing to the center of the room. A distortion had appeared in the air, like heat ripples above desert sands. It expanded, forming a swirling vortex of light that coalesced into a humanoid figure. As the light faded, a single human stood before the Imperial Council of the Veltraxian Empire. She appeared female, tall by human standards but small compared to the Veltraxians. Her dark skin contrasted with the silver-white jumpsuit she wore, a garment without visible seams, buttons, or fasteners. Most striking were her eyes, completely black with pinpoints of light that seemed to shift and move like stars in a night sky. The guards moved to surround her, energy weapons humming with potential violence. "I would reconsider that action," she said calmly, her voice automatically translated by the chamber's systems. "Your weapons will function, but the resulting energy discharge would be unpredictable in my presence." Emperor Drazik stepped forward, his massive form towering over the human. "Who are you? How did you penetrate our defenses?" The human smiled slightly. "I am Dr. Imani Akafer, Director of Xenological Relations for Earth Unified. As for how I'm here, I simply am. Your defenses are impressive but operate on principles we transcended some time ago." "Arrest her," the Emperor commanded. The guards moved forward, but as they reached for the human, their limbs passed through her form as if through smoke. "I'm not physically present," Dr. Akafer explained. "This is a projection, though somewhat more complex than a hologram. I remain on Earth, though in a meaningful sense I am here with you." Intelligence Director Kelvin's patterns flickered with realization. "Quantum entanglement on a macroscopic scale, that's theoretically impossible." "For your current understanding of physics, yes," she agreed. "We had the same limitations once, but theoretical impossibilities have a way of becoming practical realities given enough time and different perspectives." The Emperor's patience evaporated. "State your purpose, human. Are you here to threaten us, to demand surrender?" Dr. Akafer's expression remained serene. "Neither. I'm here because Commander Norixus has returned with our proposed treaty, and I anticipated you might have questions." Direct communication seemed more efficient than traditional diplomatic channels. "You bypassed the collective security of an empire spanning 873 worlds because it was more efficient." Finance Minister Ezreal asked incredulously. "Yes," she replied simply, "time is valuable to all species." The Emperor studied her for a long moment, his primary eyes never blinking. "You realize this demonstration only confirms we were right to see you as a threat." "That's a matter of perspective, Your Majesty. We don't view power as inherently threatening, only its application. Earth has no territorial ambitions. We seek neither conquest nor conflict." "Then what do you seek?" Telix asked, his patterns showing genuine curiosity. "Understanding, connection, the freedom to explore our potential without interference." She gestured, and a three-dimensional star map appeared beside her, highlighting Earth and Veltraxian space. "Your empire is vast, encompassing enough resources to sustain your civilization for millennia. Our system is but a speck in comparison. Surely there's room enough for both our species to thrive without conflict." High General Nix moved forward, his warrior's exoskeleton gleaming under the chamber's lights. "If you truly desire peace, why develop weapons capable of neutralizing our fleet?" "We didn't," Dr. Akafer replied. "We developed systems to understand reality more completely. The ability to interface with your technology was an application, not the purpose." "Semantics," Nix dismissed. "Number fundamental difference in approach." She turned to address the entire council. "Your civilization built technology to control your environment. We built ours to harmonize with it. You seek mastery over natural laws. We seek to understand and work within them more completely." "Pretty philosophy," the Emperor said dismissively. "But it doesn't explain how a single planet developed capabilities that surpass an empire of our advancement." Dr. Akafer's star-filled eyes seemed to look through him rather than at him. "Necessity and isolation. Your empire expanded through conquest, absorbing the knowledge of hundreds of species. For thousands of years, you've had no true rivals, no existential threats, no need to question your fundamental assumptions about reality." She gestured, and the star map changed to show Earth alone, surrounded by empty space. "We had only ourselves, one planet, one species, facing extinction multiple times through our own folly. We couldn't expand outward, so we turned inward. We explored consciousness itself, the nature of reality, the boundaries between dimensions. When conventional physics hit limitations, we didn't stop, we reconceptualized." Intelligence Director Kelvin leaned forward, his scientific curiosity overcoming protocol. "You're claiming your technology is based on manipulating consciousness itself. Among other things, reality is more malleable than your science currently recognizes. Perception, matter, energy, information, they're all facets of the same underlying phenomenon." The council chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. This wasn't merely advanced technology, it was an entirely different paradigm of existence. Finance Minister Ezreal was the first to recognize the practical implications. If what you say is true, your capabilities extend far beyond neutralizing our fleet. You could theoretically disable our entire empire's infrastructure. Yes, Dr. Akafor acknowledged, but we have no desire to do so. Dominance isn't our goal, coexistence is. Coexistence on whose terms? The Emperor challenged. On terms of mutual respect. We don't ask you to change your culture or governance, only to recognize our sovereignty and our right to develop without interference. Grand Advisor Telex's patterns shifted to the deep blue of profound thought. And if we refuse, if we were to commit our entire military might against Earth? For the first time, Dr. Akafor's serene expression faltered, showing something like sadness. Then we would demonstrate what happens when boundaries are truly transcended, but the cost would be immeasurable, not just in lives but in potential. The universe is vast and largely unexplored. There are mysteries beyond either of our current understandings. Would it not be better to explore them as fellow travelers rather than as enemies? The Emperor's patterns had gradually shifted from rage to a complex mixture of emotions the palace AI couldn't fully interpret. You speak of coexistence while demonstrating power that threatens our very way of life. How can we trust that you won't use these capabilities to control us more subtly? An understandable concern, she acknowledged. Perhaps a demonstration would help. She raised her hand, and suddenly the entire strategy chamber transformed. The crystalline walls seemed to dissolve, revealing a vista of stars so immediate it felt as if they were floating in space. But these weren't the familiar constellations of the galaxy they knew. These stars formed unfamiliar patterns, moved in strange orbits, glowed with colors the Veltraxian visual spectrum had never registered before. This is what we see, Dr. Akafor explained, her voice somehow more resonant in this altered space. Not just stars and planets, but the connections between them, the cosmic web that binds all matter and energy. We could have used our understanding to conquer, to control, to remake the galaxy in our image. Instead, we choose to observe, to learn, to grow. The vision faded, returning them to the normal chamber. But something had changed, a palpable shift in the atmosphere, as if reality itself had been momentarily recalibrated. Your machines are functioning normally, she said, nodding their concerned expressions. I've simply allowed you a glimpse of what we perceive. It's not a trick or an illusion, just a perspective you haven't evolved to see naturally. High General Nyx, the Empire's most steadfast warrior, was the first to speak after the vision. His patterns had shifted to a color rarely seen in the military caste, the pale cyan of philosophical doubt. In 12,000 years of expansion, he said slowly, we've conquered, subjugated, or assimilated hundreds of species. We justified it as bringing order to chaos, civilization to primitives. But you make us look like children playing with toys we don't fully understand. Not children, Dr. Akafor corrected gently. Just travelers on a different path. Your empire has achieved remarkable things. Your architecture, your social structures, your artistic traditions, they're unique expressions of consciousness that enrich the galaxy. We have no desire to diminish that legacy. The Emperor had remained silent during the demonstration, but now he stepped forward again. When he spoke, his voice harmonics had changed, the imperial resonance tempered by something new, humility. What exactly does Earth want from us? He asked plainly. Recognition, respect, and perhaps in time, collaboration. There are forces in this universe neither of us fully comprehends, challenges that might require multiple perspectives to overcome. You speak of threats beyond our knowledge. I speak of possibilities, both wondrous and terrible. The universe is ancient, Emperor Drazik. Both our civilizations are young by cosmic standards. She smiled slightly. Even your 12,000 years of history is but a moment in the lifespan of an average star. Grand Advisor Telex moved to stand beside his emperor, his patterns showing the green of cautious optimism. The treaty Commander Norixis brought back, it offers full sovereignty for Earth, non-aggression pacts, and trade opportunities. Is this still your position? It is, with one addition. Dr. Akafor raised her hand again, and a new document appeared, floating in the air between them. We propose an exchange of knowledge, carefully curated to ensure neither civilization is destabilized by concepts they're not ready to integrate. The Emperor's secondary eyes narrowed. You would decide what knowledge we're ready for. Not unilaterally. The exchange would be overseen by representatives from both worlds, plus neutral third parties mutually agreed upon. The goal isn't to withhold information, but to ensure its introduction doesn't cause harm. Finance Minister Ezreal's patterns showed the yellow of opportunity recognized. What sort of knowledge are we discussing? Medical technologies, sustainable energy systems, methods of ecological restoration. Nothing that could be weaponized, but much that could improve quality of life across your empire. The council members exchanged glances, their pattern language conveying complex emotions that human eyes couldn't interpret. Finally, the emperor spoke. You've demonstrated power that could destroy us, yet you offer partnership instead. Why? Dr. Akafer's star-filled eyes seemed to look beyond the chamber, beyond the present moment. Because we remember our history. Humanity spent millennia fighting itself, conquering, subjugating, destroying. We nearly annihilated ourselves multiple times before we understood a fundamental truth. Power without wisdom is merely the ability to make larger mistakes more quickly. She stepped closer to the emperor, a breach of protocol that would normally result in immediate execution. But nothing about this encounter was normal. We transcended our limits not by conquering others but by reconceptualizing ourselves. The greatest frontiers aren't out there, she gestured toward the stars, but in here. She touched her temple. Consciousness itself is the final frontier, and it's one best explored together, not alone. For the first time in recorded history, a Veltraxian emperor bowed to another being. It wasn't a deep bow, just a slight inclination of his massive form, but the symbolic significance was earthquake-like. We will consider your treaty, Emperor Drazik said, and your words. Dr. Akafer nodded. That's all we ask. When you're ready to discuss terms formally, you need only broadcast your response on the frequency provided in the document. I'll know. Before you go, Intelligence Director Kelvin interjected, I must ask, the warnings we received about humans exceeding limits, did you arrange those? She smiled. No, those came from species who encountered us and recognized something they couldn't quite explain. Fear often precedes understanding. And the archivists of Deneb 7, how do they factor into this? The archivists have observed this galaxy for far longer than either of our civilizations have existed. They've seen species rise and fall, empires expand and collapse. They recognized in humanity something they've seen only rarely in cosmic history, a species approaching an inflection point. What inflection point? The Emperor asked. The moment when a species transcends its physical limitations and begins to explore the true nature of reality. Her form began to shimmer, the edges of her projection becoming indistinct. It happened to them long ago, it's happening to us now, and perhaps someday it will happen to the Veltraxians as well. Before anyone could respond, she was gone, not with a flash or dramatic effect, but simply there one moment and not the next, like a thought transitioning to another. The strategy chamber remained silent for several minutes afterward. Finally, Grand Advisor Telix spoke. Your eternity, what shall we tell the Empire? Emperor Drazik XVI, direct descendant of the founder of the greatest civilization the galaxy had ever known, looked at the treaty still floating where the human had left it. His patterns shifted through several colors before settling on a hue none in the chamber had seen before, a resonant teal that the palace AI, after consultation with ancient records, identified as profound revelation. Tell them, the Emperor said, that we have encountered something new, and that the boundaries of what we thought possible have changed forever. In the observatory tower of the Imperial Palace, Ambassador Gylorn of the Querelle Consortium gazed up at the night sky. Though he had returned from Earth weeks ago, his perception remained forever altered by what he had experienced there. They won't understand immediately, came a voice beside him, Dr. Akafer materializing without warning. Gylorn didn't flinch. He had grown accustomed to the human's unique relationship with space and time. No, but they've begun to question, and that's the essential first step. Will they accept the treaty? Eventually, their pride demands they appear to deliberate, but the Emperor knows he has no real alternative. Dr. Akafer smiled. There are always alternatives, that's what makes choice meaningful. Philosophy from a species that can bend reality to its will, Gylorn's multifaceted eyes reflected the starlight. How very human.